Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Warriors, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. The Golden State Warriors butchered a potential Lauri Markkanen trade. There's unfortunately no way to escape that fact. He could be on the team flanking Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler right now, and heavens, what a perfect fit he would be, but he's not. And it's because the Warriors refused to part with guard Brandin Podziemski. The further away we get from those trade talks between the Dubs and Jazz, the crazier they become in hindsight. After Markkanen signed his extension in Utah last August, the specifics of those talks were reported by Shams Charania, Tony Jones, and Anthony Slater of The Athletic. The Warriors made the most aggressive offer, centered around Moses Moody, multiple first-round picks, pick swaps, and second-rounders. Team sources from both sides said Utah wanted Brandin Podziemski in any theoretical deal. The Warriors were protective of Podziemski in the Markkanen conversation and a few other league-wide trade proposals this summer, 2024, league sources said. My jaw dropped further with every passing sentence. How can both teams in trade negotiations be so wrong? Utah was wrong for demanding Brandin Podziemski instead of Moses Moody, and the Warriors were more wrong for refusing. Yes, I know that a year ago, after a stellar rookie season, Podziemski was widely viewed as the Warriors' future star, while Moody's standing in the Warriors' future wasn't quite as clear. I also know that if the Warriors added Markkanen, the chances of them adding Jimmy Butler likely would have decreased. Now, in fall of 2025, it appears that Moody might be the more promising prospect among the two. But even without that knowledge, it was still confusing how unwilling the team was to part with Podziemski in exchange for an all-star. It made no sense at the time, and has aged even worse after Pods didn't make the leap fans hoped for in year 2. Sometimes these situations are simpler than we make them out to be, and I think this is a perfect example of that. Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy Jr. refused to part with a player who averaged 9.2 points per game for a 27-year-old who was coming off his second straight season of averaging at least 23 points and 8 rebounds. Is that a reductive way to view the situation? Maybe. But if the front office had taken that reductive view, it likely would have landed Lauri Markkanen. For Warriors fans, watching Lauri Markkanen succeed in the NBA and in events like Eurobasket, where he averaged 23.1 points per game, fourth most in the tourney, isn't like watching an ex start doing better without you, because the Warriors and Lauri Markkanen were never officially together. It's more like watching that person you texted with for 2 weeks and got along really well with but never actually met in person, but you still randomly daydream about every once in a while. What, too specific? Regardless, Markkanen still obviously possesses star power to be a difference maker, and he showed it off at Eurobasket while representing Finland. But once he comes back stateside, he'll retreat to the mountains of Utah, popping into the minds of Warriors fans ever so often. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
What's the holdup now?
Yeah, I actually talked to Aaron Turner, Jonathan Kuminga's agent, this morning, and the messaging they're adopting this week is turn the TO to a PO and it's done. And that messaging is generally saying if it's a team option on that 3-year deal you mentioned, 74-ish million, if that's suddenly a player option, not only will Jonathan Kuminga sign it, they're saying, but he will be completely bought in on the mission that they're asking of him. Which is, using Turner's messaging, that is to get Steph Curry and Draymond Green a 5th ring, Jimmy Butler his 1st ring, and that's an understanding of him that it's a show of goodwill if they send it to a player option for what they're calling years of confusion over his role and a willingness to suppress some of his personal ambitions, which are obviously very much a part of the holdup here. Accept what's probably going to be a bench role, what's probably going to be fluctuating minutes, and accepting what will very likely be, a tradable contract. As they've mentioned, they've compared the deal to, a lower level version of the Jalen Green deal that Houston signed, which, Jalen Green, I think, is making about $33 million next year. Then it's a $36 million player option, saying he got paid by Houston to essentially also, know he might be traded. He was traded for Kevin Durant, and they just believe that if Kuminga is going to sign this and come in and buy in, as they want, he wants that to be a player option and not a team option. That's the holdup right now.
Turn a TO into a PO is very catchy, and it also makes a lot of sense here for Jonathan Kuminga. Slater, one thing you and I have been talking about is what impact this could have on the team, on the locker room, on a group that is trying to pursue yet another championship in the Steph Curry era. And Draymond Green, he weighed in on all of this on social media yesterday. He was pretty optimistic. He said negotiations are rarely easy, which is true, but they usually get done in the end. So that's what Draymond's saying. Where do things actually stand internally with the team waiting to see how this plays out?
Yeah, I would describe the veterans as calm and confident calm because they know the roster that's coming after the Kuminga domino, which we've talked about. Large expectation is Al Horford will be their starting center. That's important to them. And confident because Jimmy Butler apparently is, worked out really well this summer. Steph Curry's healthy. They think they can be good this season. Their curiosity, as I mentioned to you last week, is on the buy-in of Jonathan Kuminga. And right now, Kuminga's side is essentially saying, if you care about, the now, if the major priority is the Steph Curry this season, next season window to try to win a title, give Jonathan Kuminga control of his 2027-28 season. Because right now what the Warriors are offering, and they've been steadfast, no player option. They want the team option in the third season. They're saying if you give Kuminga the player option, he's all bought in for this season, just like they want.
And thus the saga continues. Anthony Slater, thank you very much. We will continue to check in with you as new situations unfold here. But on the court, Jonathan Kuminga, it's been a little bit of feast or famine when you look at the numbers, right? Looking at the 2025 postseason over the 12 games, I'll wait for y'all. No, you can go without me. That's fine, too. The Warriors, when he played, look at this. He had 4 DMPs. On the other hand, he also had 3 20-point games when Steph Curry was injured. So one of our favorite Tims joins us in studio now. Tim McMahon, how much do the Warriors need Jonathan Kuminga here? What do they need him to be? Because we're talking a lot on this show about a player who has had spot minutes for the Golden State Warriors.
Howdy, Malika. Spot minutes is a nice way to say this dude had 4 DNP CDs in the first round of the playoffs. Do they need him as a player? No, clearly not. They need him as an insurance policy. They need him as a trade asset. He understands that. That's why he is trying to get as much control in that contract as he possibly can. And right now, turn a TO into a PO. Right now, it's just PO.
I like that.
So, that's where they stand. But as a player, they don't need him as an insurance policy, a trade asset. They clearly want him there.
But some context to those DMPs. Remember in the postseason, he was basically told he would not have that much of a role.
That's
then
right.
Steph goes down, and now it's like, oh, well, you're here, and then you have no rhythm to go out there and produce. That's why I look at the regular season. They were third, I believe, in bench scoring, the Golden State Warriors. That's largely because of Jonathan Kuminga averaging around 15 points per game. He was their third best option when it comes to their final roster in scoring. So, I just don't like the oscillation back and forth, because going into training camp, this is a team where we used to say, like, strength in numbers, all family and all those types of things. The last few years, they've had a little bit of drama in the preseason. and I'm underselling it. Yeah. Like, they need to be able to sort this situation out. And if it means giving him a player option, I don't think that should be a deal breaker for the Golden State Warriors. I understand that you want to maintain as much control as you can, but you need this guy to compete. Because if you look at the landscape of the West, so many teams are getting so much better. Look at the state of Texas. Look at the Lakers. The Clippers. Everyone's improving, and now you're just with your hands tied because of the situation. I don't want to say free him, but just let him help him be his best self.
My thing, who is the most important player on the Golden State Warriors?
Steph Curry.
Okay, it's clear and it's obvious. And all these negotiations, let's make it a team option. We don't want him to have a player option. For 27-28, we don't even know who's going to be on that team in 27-28. For the Warriors to, in my opinion, maximize Steph Curry, who is one of the greatest players who have ever played the game of basketball, to maximize him right now, they have got to figure out a way to make this work. And if Jonathan Kuminga's team and his people are saying that he will be bought in if a player option is involved in this, I don't see why they wouldn't do it. Because you're trying to win right now with Steph Curry. And the worst thing you can have is someone in the locker room who doesn't want to be there or doesn't feel valued in the organization.
Yeah, and what the Warriors are doing, they're trying to have their cake, and they need it too in terms of maintaining flexibility for the likely post-Steph, Draymond, Jimmy future. And Kuminga's sitting here saying, hey, I'm probably not even part of the post-trade deadline future, so that's not my problem.
I'm talking to folks around the Golden State Warriors. There is a sense of optimism that something.
The Golden State Warriors are rumored to be interested, subscription required, in Trey Murphy III, but it will take a significant trade package to get a deal done. The Jonathan Kuminga saga has Golden State in a bind. They only have 9 players under contract and need enough room to sign Al Horford to the mid-level exception. Filling out their roster won't be easy, but the Dubs can't just look at the now. The Pelicans have a high asking price, but they are not shutting down Murphy talks completely. He just averaged 21.2 points, 5.1 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1.1 steals in 35.0 minutes per game. The 25-year-old would be an upgrade over Kuminga as he offers more shooting and defense. Golden State needs a third scorer behind Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler. Murphy would be the ideal fit. The Warriors don't want to sign and trade Kuminga because it limits his value. This move likely has to wait until the deadline or for the restricted free agent to accept his qualifying offer. If Kuminga is back on the one-year cheap deal, the Warriors may be scrambling for a long-term solution. That may be just the push they need to go hard after Murphy. Golden State is searching for their next star. Curry turns 38 during this season and can't play forever. The Warriors hoped Kuminga would blossom into that piece, but the relationship has soured. Their best bet is trading for a talented youngster just before he takes the next step. Murphy is already showing that, but the price is still a bit lower because the Pelicans struggled mightily last season. If Golden State offers a couple of first-round draft picks and 2 talented role players, they could make this move. It is impossible to say where the Warriors' finances truly stand until the Kuminga and Horford situations are sorted. Golden State will likely be hard-capped at the first apron. They have $25 million in room right now, but need at least 5 more players. Kuminga and Horford will make more than the minimum, so things could get tricky fast. Moody and Hield are role players. The Warriors would love to have the depth, but Murphy's shooting and scoring abilities would pop in the Bay Area. This trade could look like an absolute steal in a couple of years if Murphy blossoms into an all-star. The deal likely works better for both sides if it is a Kuminga for Murphy deal, but that would have to wait until the trade deadline. Golden State must convince the restricted free agent to decline the qualifying offer and work out a 25+ million per year salary. Those are a lot of ifs, but the Dubs could make them happen. The Golden State Warriors should be aggressive in trading for Trey Murphy, especially if the Pelicans are only after a couple of first-round draft picks. The 25-year-old could be a multiple-time All-Star who enhances a championship roster. The Dubs would love nothing more than to steal him from New Orleans, and this package should do just that. And you, fan, what do you think about Trey Murphy's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.